It's Adrienne Lawrence and more conversation. This time we happen to be talking about something I think that's near and dear to many of our hearts, including Californians, cannabis. Yeah, that's right. And I have joining me the CEO of Dope CFO, which is Andrew Hunzicker. Thank you so much for joining us, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes, absolutely. I'm super excited to have you. So I know the cannabis industry really seems to be changing and evolving, particularly in conversations and realms of impacting social equity. So I'd love to know, with this $30 billion industry and $30 billion in terms of legally on the books, knowing that it's growing so rapidly, where do you fit in this space?
So we're Dope CFO basically teaches CPAs, accountants, attorneys how to do the accounting and tax correctly. But really, we want to focus on that CFO word. We want to come in and kind of have the back of those owners. And you mentioned social equity. Many of these startups are founded by social equity applicants that may not have a big background running a $5 to $10 million company, which many of these companies are. So someone might have been a nurse or just had a normal job, and next thing you know, they're running a multi-million-dollar dispensary. They need lots of guidance on accounting, tax, compliance, software, even HR, running people, et cetera. And so we can hopefully help with that.
All right, and so definitely it seems like it's a very new burgeoning industry, especially as an attorney. I know that there can be significant hurdles, especially since you can't necessarily put your money into FDIC industries. So I've known people who are general counsels of cannabis industry and large manufacturers as well as distributors, and they've had to have armed forces at the door. So I guess, what kind of approaches are these industries and people taking?
Well, and that's a great point. Whatever rock you pick up, whether it's accounting, tax, software, you just mentioned security, huge issue. There's tons and tons of cash in the industry. Where have we seen that before? Casinos. Casinos operate all over the US with lots and lots of cash. So there's ways to deal with cash from both security standpoint and safety and accounting as well, and tax. We have to do more effort than, say, the coffee shop that has a bank account. Now, that said, one of the myths of the industry is that there are no banks. There actually are a lot of cannabis banks. So for example, I'm in Oregon. We have MAPS Credit Union that has 14 locations, and they legally bank cannabis companies. And so we can access that. There still is a lot of cash involved. There's lots of theft. And so people have to be careful. And so, yeah, they might be driving some big, massive truck, armored truck as well. So it brings up another issue. We hope, I spoke at the AICPA Cannabis Conference earlier this year. Representative Perlmutter was there. The Safe Banking Act has failed, I think, 7 times in 4 years, but he feels very confident that it's actually going to be slipped into a bill this year before we change elections. So we'll see, and we're all hopeful that that gets passed.
Yes, I think we're all kind of hopeful. As we know, cannabis is something that our society has not necessarily fully embraced in terms of at the federal level. And what do you think the chances are? I know that President Biden is kind of a staunch anti-cannabis person, still seeing it with that old school mindset of it being a gateway drug. But I'm wondering, what do you think is the potential for change here?
Oh, I think the potential is, I used to say, yeah, maybe it was 60% 5-10 years ago, but we've gone in 10 years from Colorado stepping in and legalizing to where we have legalization in some form in 47 states right this second. You can do a poll of Republicans, just Republicans nationally. The majority wants medical cannabis. You can poll Democrats. A bigger majority wants legal cannabis. You can poll independents, also a majority. We even go to some of the few states where it's totally illegal, like Texas or Nebraska, very red states like my home state of Oklahoma, which is fully legal. Those states, they're showing polls 75-80% of the population wants legal medical cannabis. There's real reason for this in the US. This is real medicine. we've known maybe for centuries that this stuff is medicine, definitely decades, but now the science is actually catching up. That's the key. So over the last 10, 20 years, we're getting real hospitals, scientists, universities, government researching the many, many uses from autism, cancer, anxiety, sleep, etc. And Americans want that medicine. I tell people, I ask this to audiences all the time, can you name another issue in the United States of America that actually 7 out of 10 of us agree on? You know, you could say the sky is blue and you'd have 4 doubters in this country right now. We're a very divided country, but we're really not on the cannabis reform. So we're very, very close. Even at the federal level, we've had the MORE Act pass the House, I think 3 times now. The Senate is maybe 3 votes short. That's not a lot of people. That's 3 human beings. Would Biden veto cannabis legislation? I doubt it. Kamala Harris is a big proponent. I think if something gets to his desk, it will pass, just because on the medical side, as well as the tax dollars, jobs, et cetera.
It seems like that there's a big push in terms of the medical side, but I'm a huge proponent of simply recreationally, largely in part because we see the alcohol industry continue to make money hand over fist. Yet we know it's a toxin, we know that it kills. We also know that it causes significant consequences, even if not just to an individual's body, but also to the things that they do when they are hopped up on Budweiser or whatever the substance is. It just seems like our society has embraced so much of it because of the normalization of it, that they're willing to overlook those things as opposed to cannabis. So I guess, where's the research? Because it seems to be that is often the excuse where people say that there's not enough research on cannabis usage, and why they can't just allow recreational usage. Do you know where the research is?
It is slowly coming out on that, and even, like, I know there have been studies, I don't have them off the top of my head. So for example, Colorado, when Colorado legalized recreational 10 years ago, everyone was like, oh, well, Colorado's gonna fall apart and the whole state's gonna burn down. Well, that didn't happen. Colorado's doing just fine. They've got, so is Oregon, lots of tax dollars fueling things like schools and education. And I think we all know what has happened with both the opiate industry, but also, like you said, the alcohol industry, where there's drunk driving or violence or killing. You don't see that stuff on the cannabis side. So I think you're right on recreation. It's also been horribly unfair to especially minorities in this country, who many people are behind bars for long periods of time. I'm a big believer in getting those criminal records expunged, getting these people out of jail. It's ridiculous. This is real medicine, and yes, people can actually use it recreational, and not go crazy and shooting a bunch of people or whatever.
Yes, absolutely. I think it does alter the mind in a way that is less harmful. And so I'm really glad you brought up in terms of the social justice equity issues, because yes, absolutely. I think I would assume that you know that the history of cannabis has largely been one of racism. The fact that Black people and Mexican people used it is why the United States outlawed it and made it to be out this gateway dangerous drug, when that is really just a racist trope that's been played on to justify it in the minds of many, including Joe Biden, which is very sad. At the same time, I'm wondering, in terms of being the CEO of Dope CFO, do you provide any kind of opportunities for suppliers or vendors or people with whom you do business that recognizes the social inequities in terms of communities that have been impacted?
It's a huge piece. So we do live calls every week. Literally 2 hours ago, I was on a live call saying these exact words. We need to go out, every dope CFO, of which there's almost 1,000 in all 50 states, as CPAs and accountants, we need to be donating dollars and our time to social equity applicants. They need our help. Many of these social equity applicants that are getting licenses, they're being fed on by a new kind of, I call them shark. Oftentimes investors are coming in and enticing social equity applicants with money and dollars to get some of their equity in these companies, and they can use someone to protect their back. I'll just real quickly state a couple of these organizations that Dope CFO donated money to this month. One is called Our Academy. It's out of California, National Mentoring Organization of Social Equity Applicants. Another one is Minorities for Medical medical marijuana. It's M for MM. So Minorities for Medical Marijuana. It's out of Florida, but they've got chapters in 27 states right now. And we are mentoring several of their applicants as they're actually going to pitch on a stage next week in Las Vegas to investors. And we're helping them with pitch decks and getting their presentation together so that they can, win these licenses and have some guidance to help really build a good company.
Right, so I know you said you got on a call and you said that we need to do this, but are you creating any kind of internalized plan that says we are giving, for example, discounts? Like the company I'm a vice president of, we provide a discount to any kind of nonprofit or government organization. Are you providing anything that's concrete that's beside just mentorship?
So that's the avenue we've gone so far. Everyone in our program they each have their own business. So I'm not like this national firm with 1,000 employees, but we're strongly encouraging. We're doing it at the national level. We are donating dollars. We just wrote pretty big checks to those two organizations this month, but we're also donating our time to help those people as well. And then we're encouraging it to other business owners. I can't force them to do whatever, but we are offering on those fronts to get out there and hopefully provide support.
Yes, well, hopefully if they want to use your name as a dope CFO, that there could be something put in a contract to ensure that they do provide some kind of services that address the social equity. But I very much appreciate the work that you're doing, and hopefully it can reach more marginalized communities, particularly those who are getting into the cannabis industry. But for those who are viewers and watching right now and who want to learn more about what you do, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find us at dopecfo.com. I'm very easy to reach and love to meet you or answer any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Andrew Hunzicker, CEO of Dope CFO.
All right. Thank you.